This is the Yanks Go Yard podcast with Adam Weinrib and Thomas Carinante.
Welcome to the Yankees Go Yard podcast. I'm Adam Weinrib. Thomas Carinante is off today. A wasted Ben Rice got him lost in Tijuana after the clinch celebration. No, that's not true, I don't think. Thomas will be back next week when we'll be talking about the New York Yankees playoff opponent. Who's it going to be? I don't know, but I know they're going to have one. I don't know when the series is going to start. I don't really know anything. We professed we might know more after the first two games of the White Sox series on Monday's show. And it's good that we now know the Yankees are locked into a playoff berth, one of the weirdest clinch scenarios I can recall, where all it took was one game to guarantee it was going to happen eventually, but not one win to guarantee that it was going to happen right then and there. But since that moment in time, the New York Yankees 2-0, the Houston Astros 0-2, and they're now at the bottom of the bracket, out of the bracket for now, 2 games behind a couple of teams, the Detroit Tigers, the Cleveland Guardians, the Boston Red Sox, all involved. The Red Sox have done some work on the Yankees' behalf to start this week of play. I don't want to talk too much about it in a confident light because, like Aaron Boone said, hey, be careful what you wish for, but you can't help but look at the Red Sox beating the Toronto Blue Jays as an objectively good thing as long as the New York Yankees keep winning baseball games. The Red Sox going down at Tampa sort of staved off that potential Boston collapse. Now all that's left is for them to figure out where exactly they're going. Their magic number down to 1. They've got 4 games remaining as well. And again, a Red Sox win over Toronto tonight will help the New York Yankees in some capacity. Can't root for it, but can do a little tip of the hat acknowledgement that that's ultimately not a bad thing, especially as the Red Sox, again, collapse out of the postseason thanks to the Houston Astros and Detroit Tigers, basically off the table pending an absolute bit of insanity. So now you hope the seeding lines up right. You hope the Yankees get a shot at accomplishing something very impressive. Again, we're talking playoff clinch, and I thought we would be talking one variety of playoff clinch, but the Thursday show different than I thought it would be. There's more on the table for the New York Yankees. There's more meat on the bone. So obviously we will discuss the American League East, the door that has opened, the rigged race that George Springer perceives it to be. Talk through the weekend against the Orioles, tonight against the White Sox, and get everybody ready for Monday when we'll be back here and we'll know the whole bracket. Right now, again, I can't even speculate on who the Yankees might play. There are so many things, most of them very good, that are on the table. Thank you for joining us, 2 o'clock Eastern on a Monday, Thursday. Wouldn't miss this one, especially not after the champagne popped. We will be back again on Monday as well. And we're on all your podcast platforms after the show runs for the first time on YouTube. Come and subscribe. You can watch all of our shorts, all of our live streams back. And again, listen on your favorite podcast platform. So the clinch, it's here. It happened. And not only did it happen, but it was very exciting. And some New York sports personalities that I may be expected to throw a stink over popping champagne for a wild card were actually pretty rational and reasonable about it. Brandon Tierney and Sal Licata went back and forth basically saying this Yankee season had a number of incredible storylines and they gave you a lot of reason to believe this wasn't possible. And so the moment this became possible, totally valid to celebrate, pop champagne. Jazz Chisholm and Aaron Judge had similar statements. Jazz a little bit more outlandish than Judge. Jazz said, I'll feel a lot better if I have a ring. You know, we know what we're capable of. We want to go back and prove that and get the ring and be able to just comfortably say that. And Aaron Judge made it very clear that, you know, the job was not finished in anybody's mind. And he made it even clearer by going out and hitting 2 home runs yesterday in the hangover game to give the Yankees an 8-1 win. Every win they get from this point forward is the most important win of the season, given what's at stake. And so that win over the White Sox, when they left the bases loaded with no outs on a 3-0 count to Giancarlo Stanton in the first inning without a run, and then Max Fried gave up a run in the top of the second, Judge coming back with that 3-run home run in the bottom of the second was huge. It turned the tide in the biggest win of the year to date. You play who's on your schedule. It's the Chicago White Sox. It's not the Red Sox or Blue Jays, but that doesn't make it any less of a massive game and a huge swing. And same with the clinch on Tuesday, where Luis Gil continues to confuse and confound me. And if the Yankees are not playing the Red Sox in the first round of the postseason, I don't think I want him getting that potential number 3 start. Obviously, best case scenario, Max Fried and Carlos Rodon take care of business, and we don't have to think about it. But Heel continues to sit lower velocity on the fastball, 93 in this start, to aid his command, but he didn't totally have command either. He only walked 2, but 27 pitch first inning, and too combustible and volatile for me at this point. He's getting by despite hard contact, despite lower velocity, despite poor location. Colson Montgomery burned him after the Yankees made that outfield misplay between Judge and Grisham. And it was only a matter of time. The White Sox best hitter did the damage, but there was plenty left on the table and meat on Luis Gil's personal, bone in that game. I can't believe I just said personal bone, but you know what? We move on. He was asking for it, and he got it. And it took until the 9th inning where the Yankees left so many men on base in this game. I believe it was 11 in total. But the damage was done at the perfect moment, an opportune time. The first and second, and Anthony Volpe and Austin Wells, their contributions get overlooked because they're Anthony Volpe and Austin Wells, and the narrative is that they have struggled this year. Anthony Volpe post-cortisone shot has been a reliable contributor. Can't say any more than that. It's not to the same extent as Mookie Betts. Mookie Betts is a better player than Anthony Volpe. Breaking, Mookie Betts has more of a track record. Mookie Betts is a Hall of Famer, but Mookie Betts is having a season where he's not going to match his career norms and the numbers that he was shooting for. And he said to himself, I'm a role player, which is harsh. He won NL Player of the Week after that, but he had to adjust his mindset and say, this is not going to be a season where I'm going to match the numbers I'm looking for. I can't chase those anymore because I'm not getting them. Anthony Volpe post-cortisone shot is not the starting shortstop anymore. He's close to an everyday player, but there are challengers for his throwing, right? And he's not going to correct the OPS. He's not getting up to 800. He's not hitting 260. So what can he do other than show up every day and be the best version of himself, be a renewed version of himself? He's 9 for his last 24 in 7 games with 6 strikeouts, sure, hitting 375 with a 500 slug and got a big hit to start off that inning. Austin Wells got a line drive that looked like the same hit that capped the game-tying rally against Seattle in what might turn out to be the biggest game of the year when all is said and done, based on the way that Seattle's played. The Yankees sweeping them in Yankee Stadium is a huge statement. The Yankees will, if they do meet the Seattle Mariners at any point in time, will hold home field advantage in instance of a tiebreaker if they are able to get that. So we'll see how that goes. A lot of row left to hoe before we can get there. But huge game, and the Wells line drive is very reminiscent. Trent Grisham comes up. He's so hot this year, so clutch. It's such a bunting situation. Like old school baseball, you got to bunt. But with Trent Grisham up, the man just hits tanks. He hit another one yesterday. You can't get there. And they're going to intentionally walk Aaron Judge. If you do bunt Grisham and he does succeed, you'll just be loading the bases for Cody Bellinger, who'd also struggled to that point. Of course, Trent Grisham puts a solid check mark in the should have bunted column with the worst ill-timed double play of the season. First pitch, too. Just cinch, boom, done. And the rally is, at that point, over in the minds of many. We're going to have to move on. We're going to have blown another opportunity where the Red Sox won, the Blue Jays lost. That would have cut the Yankees lead over the Red Sox to just 2 with 5 remaining, too. It's the Yankees seek home field advantage there, and they can't tie the Red Sox. They do not have that tiebreaker. I don't know if you recall, but the Red Sox have beaten the shit out of the Yankees this year, by and large. So, no, the Yankees did not win the season series. They would not win a tiebreaker. So that would have been dire. They would have had to win the next 2 against Chicago and definitely win the Orioles series to maintain that edge over the Red Sox. The wild pitch to Cody Bellinger is just the Yankees have been bailed out many times in previous years in poor offensive iterations by wild pitches that have scored crucial runs. This team's offense has been so impressive for the most part this year that they haven't needed a bailout. I just want to thank the baseball gods for the little bit of luck there. A throwback to when the wild pitch was the Yankees' best run producer with runners in scoring position. And it wasn't just a wild pitch, too. It was a gone grip. 2.5 feet above the catcher, Kyle Teal, a local kid, a Jersey legend, a guy with a lot of family at that game. And somebody guided that baseball well over his glove and gave the Yankees the run they needed to tie the game and reinvigorate them. And then, of course, 9 pitches to Jose Caballero. Michael A. Taylor should have dove for the Caballero bloop. If you are a Toronto Blue Jays fan, you're looking at that and you are perplexed, and I am perplexed for you. I do not understand the business decision. It was not like Michael A. Taylor, who doesn't do stuff like that, but it was very 2024 White Soxian. Like Will Venable's White Sox don't really do that kind of stuff. They're much better managed. They're much tighter. They play as a unit. They've got a lot of young talent. That was out of last year's playbook. I don't know what he was doing. I don't know why he thought he had a good chance to throw Judge out of the plate, but if he did think that, he shouldn't have thrown the ball directly into the turf, which is what he did. And the Yankees win. The Blue Jays loss was just before that, and then you can pop the champagne. Jose Caballero got the Brennan Cuddy deep dive. I can't remember the last time I heard a Yankee say this type of thing and be described like this. He went around the whole locker room last year at the end of the Rays elimination and asked every player in that room how he could be a better teammate. Taj Bradley on the record in that story basically just said, continue supporting us, continue playing as hard as you do. Never lose sight of that. Here's the quote from the Cuddy piece, but nobody expects more out of Caballero than Caballero himself, even if his arrival and his impact with the Yankees has been unexpected. I show up to try to win the game, he said. That's it. How often in previous years have we complained about the New York Yankees doing the long play, saving bullpen arms, saving energy, and it's a mentality that we've suspected comes down from Aaron Boone to the rest of the roster. We'll go Mark Leiter Jr. here in the 8th in a 1-run game. We got to get him right, or we got to figure out what we have. And, we don't want to go 3 out of 4 for Luke Weaver at this point in the season because we're going to need him tomorrow. But then, we lose 10-2 tomorrow. Our starter doesn't have it, and then we don't use Luke Weaver at all. That kind of thing. You never know. Clint Frazier saying things like the Yankees don't believe in hot. And the Yankees don't believe in sort of that innate, just like it may not last forever. But right now, this player is in the moment and on one. Jose Caballero and the way that he's been used and the way that he's thrived has sort of been the antithesis to that whole play for tomorrow thing. He plays for today, whether he's starting, whether he's a pinch runner, and yes, whether he is getting a little bit too angry about an umpire's bad call and getting ejected from a game in Tampa that he shouldn't have been ejected from in a learning experience. But for the first time in forever, the Yankees have a guy I know they're entering the playoffs with the mentality of win every day, inning, moment. And they need that to be contagious. And in recent weeks, in the month of September, it has certainly felt contagious. I'm going to give the Yankees credit for September. And like Brandon Tierney and Sal Licata, two guys I don't expect to be giving the Yankees credit for, said on their recap, this team has gone through significant challenges, and this team has risen to the occasion. This team has done all you could ask for out of it. I disagree that Sal Licata said something, and obviously he is a Mets fan, and he is bummed out at this moment in time as they fight tooth and nail for a postseason spot. He said the Yankees always give you a reason to feel good about them heading into the postseason. I disagree with that. There have been plenty of Yankees teams that have stumbled to the finish line. 2022 and 2015 come to mind. We are all a little bit spoiled when it comes to judging our playoff runs and playoff readiness. I know that, but there's certainly Yankee teams that entered the postseason skittishly where you go, I think I've already seen the best of this group, and I don't feel confident against their chief rivals, which at the end of the day is the measuring stick, is the most important thing. This Yankees team had us feeling a certain type of way when they went 20-31 in the summer, when they completely botched every opportunity they had against Toronto, against Boston. They couldn't overcome the rest bugaboo. They were playing poorly against teams over 500, and they had that huge September gauntlet, an opportunity to prove to us that they had some version of themselves that they hadn't been able to uncover for months. And we said, good luck with that, especially after they split the first two in Houston. Big, resounding win. Bullpen Will Warren blow up 4-1 game. They can't handle the umpire adversity, and they lose that game in which they had a 3-run lead in the middle innings. And we said everyone's waiting for the Yankees to prove who they really are during this run. Well, they just proved it. They proved the same thing they've been proving for months, that they have it. They can channel it. They can channel lightning, but then they're equally likely on any given day to unravel, be mentally weak, be unable to stand up to the push that their rival gives them, and come up with an excuse in the aftermath, like the umpiring. And then from that moment, it basically snapped in. The weird bullpen meltdowns against the Detroit Tigers, which look even weirder now, knowing what we know about the direction the Tiger season was about to go, notwithstanding, they showed up against Toronto. They showed up in the finale against Houston. They went to Fenway Park and showed up. They took care of business against teams that have lesser records on the road in Baltimore and Minnesota. They could have let up there. They didn't. And now what's left is one more with the Chicago White Sox and 3 more with Baltimore. And Baltimore's throwing their best. Taylor Rogers Trevor Rogers. It would be nice to get the name of the guy with the 1 ERA right, but I apologize, Trevor Rogers, who just beat you last Friday and who is the best lefty starter in baseball at this moment in time. Not permanently. I don't know what's going to happen to Trevor Rogers next year, but I know at this moment in time, Garrett Crochet and Trevor Rogers, two hottest lefties in baseball, over Tarek Skubal. I understand. I understand what I'm saying. Rogers' stats have been better than Crochet's for an extended period of time. Crochet and Skubal, I am confident are better pitchers, but it's a triumvirate of which lefties you don't want to face right now. The Yankees have a lefty mashing lineup. It did not work last week against Rogers. Will they play it again tomorrow? It depends on what's on the line. Probably Ahmed Rosario gets that start. Probably they gear it towards the lefty pitcher. But Rogers, the Orioles played 5 games in between Rogers starts. Tony Manzolino and the Orioles do not want the New York Yankees to grab something. They're not going to give it to him. Rogers is asking for the ball, or the manager is giving him the ball with more than adequate rest between his starts. He's not on turn. He should be pitching today against Tampa. He's not. He's pitching against the Yankees. So is Sagano. So is Kyle Bradish. You're getting the Orioles' 3 best starters, 2 of whom looked really good last weekend. The Yankees have to, if they confidently want to grab the AL East, win all 4 of these games. 6-0 homestand. Even that won't assure it. There is an MLB.com glitch that pissed off Blue Jays fans overnight that made it look like the Yankees were going to lead in the division. They're not. They're tied. The Blue Jays hold the tiebreaker. So if the Blue Jays win all 4 and the Yankees win all 4, the Blue Jays win the division. The Yankees need to win every game on their slate to comfortably have a shot at the division, and they need to be scoreboard watching the Blue Jays and just hoping for one slip up. You can't hope for more than one slip up. Hopefully you get one. The Rays are coming into Toronto this weekend, and I guarantee they do not want the Blue Jays to win the AL East either. 2 division opponents help in this case. It's division versus division. AL East teams do not want the Yankees and Blue Jays to have an easy road. Orioles aren't going to make it easy. Rays aren't either. The Blue Jays are throwing a bullpen game today against the Red Sox. The Red Sox are playing for everything. They're technically alive in the AL East too. They're 3 games behind the Yankees with 4 to play. And so the Yankees have not locked up home field advantage. If they see the Red Sox, the Yankees would really like to. That's still on the table. You've got to win at least 2 of your final 4 to lock that up. You've got to get your hands on that because nobody wants to face the Red Sox, but you certainly don't want to face them at Fenway. But beyond that, the Red Sox have never needed to win more than today. Their magic number is 1. They've embarrassed Toronto twice. They'd love to do it again. They want to go into the postseason hot too. I saw Boston radio people saying 0-6 was a possibility for them headed to Toronto and headed home against Detroit. I don't know why they got fooled by the 1 loss against the Rays into dooming, but they did. And now they're 2 wins deeper. They look great. Now Boston radio, I'm sure, is saying, why not go for it? The Tigers are reeling. You can knock them out of the playoffs. But if the Tigers come in hot to Fenway this weekend and sweep and even win 1 of 3, they have the tiebreaker. So I think that depending on tonight's, we don't know what happens between the Tigers and Guardians. We don't know what happens between the Red Sox and Blue Jays. But if the Tigers have a way this weekend to tie up the Red Sox, then they will be the 5 seed, Detroit, and the Boston Red Sox will fall down to 6 and have to go to Cleveland. So tons at stake for the Red Sox. They badly want to win today, and the Yankees need to hope for 1 break and handle your business. That's how you win the AL East. And then maybe you get additional breaks. But it's in that locker room. It's the Yankees veteran leadership that needs to continue to step up. And or maybe it's over already, though, because according to George Springer, the Yankees have clinched the AL East already. George Springer, if they want to give it to New York, then just tell us. That's what he said after the third base umpire blew a fair foul call. It would appear blew a fair foul call against the Boston Red Sox. And then the home plate umpire called him out on strike 3 that was well off the plate. And the terrible strike 3 call would appear to be also a very bad fair foul call. I think both calls were wrong. I think both calls went in the Red Sox favor. The Toronto Blue Jays had 7 more innings in that game to score runs. They scored 1 run. Boston scored 4. They did an okay job at run preventing, didn't do an okay job at scoring runs. Toronto had a chance to win yesterday. Got to beat Garrett Crochet with Max Scherzer. That's a tough assignment, but it was 3-0 Red Sox in the first inning, and they put the bats away. Toronto could have beaten Kansas City last week. They lost 20-1. Toronto could have won that series in Kansas City last week. They would already be in a better position if they'd done that. They didn't do that. Toronto is struggling. And every clip I see from Toronto looks like a team that is losing their grip. You've got the runner getting thrown, Alejandro Kirk getting thrown out at first base on a single to end the game. That's just, Alejandro Kirk is not fast, but certainly not the kind of thing that happens when things are going well. Springer losing his mind, and people blame this on the Jomboyification of baseball. That is, George Springer was on television. It's not Jomboy's fault that he could read the lips of a man who was on TV. If you are a public figure, a baseball figure, you don't get to have private conversations with your manager in the dugout without covering your mouth on camera. It was a private conversation. This shouldn't have gotten out of hand. He's allowed to say something in anger, I guess, but he needs to know where he is and how much of a public figure he is, and he needs to know that everything he does at the front of the dugout is captured. You go on a rampage, the cameras are going to find you, and they did. John Schneider, after last night's loss, the manager, it feels like the sky is falling right now, and it's fucking not, he said. Definitely the kind of thing that someone who's keeping it together really well says. Jose Barrios comes in as a reliever and watches Romy Gonzalez of the Red Sox, likely relaying signs because, I don't know, he's tipping his signs. The Red Sox and Yankees have been great this year at picking up on signals and relaying them. You don't want that to be done? Don't make it so obvious. And yet, what is Jose Barrios doing? Complaining to the Red Sox about the thing that he let happen. You're seeing a lot of that from the Toronto Blue Jays this week and last week. Back to Max Scherzer giving away signals to the Yankees when the Yankees played Toronto in the Bronx 2.5 weeks ago. I'm just saying it's not rigged. MLB doesn't want the Yankees to win. MLB probably would not have assigned the Red Sox t-shirt wearing umpire to the Houston game if they wanted the Yankees to win. And he botched one at third base the next day, by the way. They didn't get him out of the series. Just keep doing what you're doing and see if you can ruin a game from third base, which is a really hard place to ruin a game from. He was like, aye, boss. I hear you, Rob Manfred. I'll try. So if they're trying to pave the Yankees' path in here, then they did a really shitty job of it during the summer. And they should have told us fans we could have been a little more prepared during the struggles. And again, if they're paving the Yankees' way to the AL East title, they must have tampered with the Blue Jays bats, because the bats are still in your hand. You still got Trey Savage at your disposal. All these Blue Jays comeback wins, like the Blue Jays are getting saved by some really dramatic comebacks over the past couple of weeks. Without those, where would they be? I saw a lot of metal from the Toronto Blue Jays before the last week and a half or so that they're not displaying right now. So the AL East, can't believe I'm saying this, entering the final 4 days of the season, not over. The Yankees absolutely could win the division. Without some of the worst losses you've ever seen midsummer, there were 2 4-run leads. A 4-run lead blown in the 9th by the Yankees and Devin Williams in Tampa. There was a 5-run lead blown in the 7th in that first game in Miami, and a 2-run lead blown in the 9th. Some abhorrent losses by the New York Yankees this season. If not for those, even with all the bad defense they played in Toronto, even with the head-to-head matchups with Toronto and Boston, they would still have won this division a couple of days ago. But they didn't. This is the hand they've been dealt, and they're in it. With 4 games remaining on the schedule, they are firmly in it. You really can't ask for more after what we saw this summer. You can ask for more in general. We all did. We will continue to. But you cannot ask for more based on where they were just a couple of weeks ago. Very impressive. One final word on the Cal Raleigh Aaron Judge home run race MVP debate as well. Look, I understand where the people saying Cal Raleigh is the MVP are coming from. And I understand it because I was fatigued by Shohei Ohtani in 2022. And I had to argue for, how is Aaron Judge not the overarching narrative of this season, right? I thought Aaron Judge deserved the MVP because I was tired of watching Ohtani put up unmatchable WAR numbers as a pitcher and a hitter, and thought that Judge's home run chase on the most prominent team in baseball, especially after he had an MVP stolen from him in 2017, was worthy of the hardware. But if you wanted to make a Ohtani case, I got it. In this instance, if you want to make a Raleigh case, if you want to make a Judge case, Cal Raleigh has 60 freaking home runs as a catcher. You cannot ignore that. It is a valid MVP vote. Totally valid. But Aaron Judge's OPS is 177 points higher than Raleigh's right now. Aaron Judge is having the superior offensive season outside of home runs. Home runs aren't everything. They're very significant and impressive, and 60 is so many of them. Aaron Judge is having the better offensive season. Cal Raleigh and Aaron Judge are both on division leaders right now. Cal Raleigh is on a team without as much of a documented history, and Cal Raleigh is a catcher. And so all of a sudden, now that Cal Raleigh is legitimately challenging Aaron Judge for the MVP throne, a bunch of people who said WAR was dogmatically what they would use to evaluate an MVP race, well, it's the statistic that means value. So obviously it matters here. When it came to Mike Trout, well, I would love to give it to Miguel Cabrera's Triple Crown, but Mike Trout got that WAR advantage. You know, I would love to give it to anybody who's facing Ohtani, but Ohtani has more WAR. What can you do? All of a sudden, WAR doesn't evaluate catchers properly. And, well, we need to look at a little something more than that. We need to give credit to the intangibles of Cal Raleigh's season, because we'll just never have the metrics to show what goes into knowing a pitching staff. Can you just look me in the eyes and say that you're bored of giving Aaron Judge the MVP? Can you just say it? Because if you were going by the same metrics that you used to try to diminish his case in previous years and the cases of other players having legendary seasons, the WAR is on Aaron Judge's side. And I 100% get it. And I am a narrative MVP voter. And if you asked me to vote, I think I'd vote for Cal Raleigh, especially because Judge missed some time. It's important to me what he's doing from the catcher position. But there are a lot of hoops being jumped through to justify how this isn't just a good, interesting race, but it's an obvious Raleigh win. And the metrics being used are not the ones that were pretty dogmatically applied to previous MVP races to hold Judge out of the top spot and accountable. I also laugh when people say, well, it's not about the greatest season. It's about the greatest story. You know, what's more interesting than a catcher galvanizing a city? Yep, I get it. I'm on board. But it wasn't interesting to all of you when Aaron Judge was a rookie hitting 52 home runs and leading the Yankees that had torn everything down in 2016 to a 2017 wildcard berth. In his rookie season, hitting 284 with 52 homers, should have been 53. They didn't know how to call one that hit a seat against St. Louis. I'm still mad. But that wasn't interesting to you. You found Jose Altuve's 7th season in which he hit 346 and matched Judge in B-WAR more interesting. No, you didn't want to give it to a Yankees rookie. You wanted to give it to a more established player. And you wanted to give it to the higher batting average. And now the higher batting average is Aaron Judge. And he's got more experience. And you want to give it to the lower batting average and the guy you're less familiar with. Again, if you asked me, I'd give it to Raleigh because I like the narrative MVP. But I'm honest enough to say that that's the kind of voter I am. And I think a lot of people are not quite honest enough to say that. But will Aaron Judge win the MVP? We won't find out for a long time, but we will know where the Yankees are in the postseason, which, again, they're officially going to. Even the most anxious among us cannot not mention the word playoffs right now because it's happening. The New York Yankees are going to the postseason. Will their first playoff game be Tuesday when the wild card round starts, or will it be a little bit later on Saturday in the division series? I tell you what, I'd really like to host. I'd really like to get to the DS, and I would really like to see what happens from there. I would also really like the Houston Astros to not be in the Major League postseason. Can we get a representative series from the Detroit Tigers at Fenway Park this weekend? Can we get it? One time? Detroit Tigers, what happened to you? Can you go to Fenway Park and help the world out a little bit and maybe send the Red Sox to play a Cleveland team that's become America's sweethearts? Can we send the Red Sox on the road and get them out of the Yankees matchup? The Yankees have to do it, then so be it. But I just trust a lot of other teams to play the Red Sox harder and more interesting fashion than we do. And then you look, eventually, maybe they'll be in your bracket, but you do want to delay that. So, hey, whoever's coming the Yankees' way, bring them on. It will be someone. The New York Yankees in 2025 have overcome a ton to go to the postseason. And against all odds, and in part because of the Blue Jays' little spiral at the worst possible time for them, and their denial of their own spiral and the forces behind it, claiming that it's an outside force conspiring to keep them out of the rightfully earned playoff position. They got so mad when Michael Kay said their statistics did not look like a first-place team, and now they're working very hard and acting entitled to a spot that they have not earned yet. Work to be done by both the Yankees and Blue Jays before this is settled, which is crazy to say with 4 games remaining in the regular season. I never expected to say that. Hopefully the rain holds off tonight. Hopefully the Yankees can continue channeling this momentum against the Chicago White Sox. 4 more at home before the postseason for the Yankees. Playoff fate to be determined. What'll it be? We'll see you 2 o'clock Eastern time. Thomas Carnante will be back here, and so will special guest Danny Wexelman to break down the postseason and preview the whole lot of it. We'll see where the Mets land too. Danny at SNY probably has some insightful thoughts on how that has transpired. Until Monday's show, 2 o'clock Eastern, a really special one. No better time to subscribe to the podcast feed, to the YouTube channel, all that good stuff, and read us on yanksgoyard.com or find me at Adam Weinrib, find Thomas Carnante at Tommy's_takes. Until next time, we'll see you, and we'll know more about the Yankees postseason bracket when we do.